Hey, hello. Come on in, join me. Now, I have just had such an inspiration to talk to you about something incredible. I know we talk a lot about fear, right? We talk a lot about fear, but today I want to talk to you about the polar opposite of what fear is, right? Because typically we let fear control our lives when that's not our truth. Okay, like think of yourself as a brand new baby. Like you weren't born knowing like fear and hate and anxiety and like all that stuff. Like that wasn't a thing. What you knew that at the core of you was love. This is what you knew. And so now, all these years later, assuming you're not a newborn listening to me right now, all these years later, you'll know if you're living in either fear or faith based on the questions that you ask yourself, how you describe yourself, what you lean into. Like, would you call yourself a control freak? Do you find it difficult to let go and have faith in the process? Do you have this plan, but you need to know all of the steps, all of the things in order to get there before you even get started? Do you find yourself making lists of all your things to do? You're getting ready to get ready. You got lists for your lists. Have you got stuck trying and then failing and then just saying, like, screw this, I'm done? Now, I love this quote. It's by Clarence Smithson, and he says, faith is the ability to see the invisible, believe in the incredible, and that is what enables believers to receive what the masses call impossible. Now, many of you I've heard it from you, even in the last 6 months that we've now been living in Barbados. Like, this isn't a fake background, it's a real background. And I get messages all the time. I'm like, oh, I would love to wake up to that every day, but it just seems impossible. So if this is you, I want you to kind of lean into what I'm talking about right now. Okay, I'm going to repeat his quote. Faith is the ability to see the invisible, believe in the incredible, and that is what enables believers to receive what the masses think is impossible. 98% of humans, the fact is, and I even put this question out on my social media this morning, that asked, are you currently, right in this moment, are you living the life that you dreamed of? Or are you living the life that you settled for? 98% of people, it's the latter. And I'm getting a lot of messages going, well, I don't know, it's kind of both. It can be both if you are leaning in and having faith in the process. Can you imagine if you lived your life by this quote that I just gave you? Where you just knew that it didn't matter what was between you and where you're going, that you just knew that it was going to work out the way it was meant to work out. Not because we got in our own way. But the key is in the belief. So he says, which enables the believers. He calls the 2%, he calls them believers. The believers of what they can't see, the invisible, You can't see it. But the fact is 98% of people, and it's not good or bad, right or wrong, it's how we're programmed. We only believe what we can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. If you can't see, hear, smell, taste, and touch it, it must not be true. And even a lot of people say, well, I don't know, like I believe in God or source or universe or energy, or that there's something bigger than us. And yet their actions every single day say actually are just like, oh, just kidding. I actually don't. I believe there's something, but I'm not, my actions aren't showing that I believe in anything. Okay, when you have this faith, like has nothing to do with religion, when you have this faith and this knowingness, you just know, like you know that you can't mess this up. And the moment your belief matches with any state that you fuse with, and this, you have this like new state of conscious awareness, it becomes the space in which you see the whole world. And before we picked up and moved to Barbados, yeah, I played around with like less daring moves. Even me, like leaving my corporate job after 15 years of climbing the corporate ladder, most would say that was a daring move. To me, that was a no-brainer, because I was like, what am I trading my life for? I just asked myself that one question. What am I trading my life for? And I knew it couldn't be that. I knew it couldn't be. It was just, it's a feeling. And I knew no matter what happened, I was better off, for me, betting on myself so that I could show up in a state of purpose. That was faith. And I've done different things now within my business over the last 10 years that on paper, like a business major would say, that's not a solid move. It's not very strategic. See, for me, it was a no-brainer. But the moment your belief matches the state of where you're going, you win. No matter what our beliefs are, we have to believe something. You have to believe something. And we fuse with that belief, and it becomes a part of the fabric of who we are. And it's like awesome and exciting and a huge responsibility all at the same time. Because it means, though, that you are in charge, right? So I used to say, like, oh, I have to, like, I'm a recovering control freak. But now I actually have more control than ever, because I understand the source that I'm working with. Like, my faith is like knowing that I'm never alone. It has nothing to do with my husband or my kids or anything. I even in this last year had my mom, who was like my person. She's not in her body anymore. And I still know, like I know that it's part of it. Okay, we have to fuse with the belief. But it means we are in charge of our beliefs, in charge of the flow, in charge of the direction. Like, you just know, like, I've got this. I know it's going to work out. But then your habitual way will come in. And I only say this because I know, because I've been there. What if I'm wrong? What if I fail? Well, what if you're right? What if you fly? What if everything were to work out? And I'll use Barbados as a really clean example of, we had never been here before we moved here. We had never even been to Barbados. We had been to Caribbean islands, but like never Barbados. Had known people that came here and loved it. And everybody was like, why Barbados? And I'm like, well, you know, it checks off the things on our, you know, things that we want for our family, right? But it also, I said, I don't know. And like the people that in the 2% club that I study with every day, The whole transition, I was exercising this faith. I said, I don't know what's there for me, but I bet you it's going to be awesome. And I said, and what do I have to lose? What's the worst case scenario? What? I like after a year or so, I like what, moved back to Canada. What was the risk? There's no risk when you go into every situation knowing that you're just going to learn some lessons out of it. Turns out it's really flipping awesome here. And I am becoming very clear every day why Barbados. But you have to choose faith over fear and worry and doubt. Right? It's two opposite ways of seeing this exact same situation. If you know, so if you're answering my question that was on social this morning, going, I'm living the life that I settled for. Okay, well, that's not good or bad, right or wrong. Identify the areas that you know you're settling in, and then ask yourself really good questions. What is my dream around the work that I do, the money that I have in my bank account, how my relationships look, how my health looks? What do I want that to look like? Because whatever you're experiencing right now, there's an opposite to it. But we need to believe in something invisible. Either way, right? So it's like before, when I worked in corporate healthcare and I was making 6 figures a year and had all the shiny things like a pension and benefits and all the things, right? But it's like those things are all invisible. Agreed? They're all invisible. Like they would put money in my bank account and I guess I could see it when it would get in there, but then I would spend it on things. And you're like, well, I don't know. There's like a transaction there. Right? But I believed in something invisible, a pension. You don't get access to your pension until you're 65 if you make it to 65. We all know people that didn't make it there. It's invisible, yet we hold on to it for dear life. Okay, when you are in a state of worry, this is a belief that something bad can happen. When you are in a belief of faith, when you have this, you believe that something good is going to happen. And it takes just as much belief and energy either way, except for one feels better. One feels better. So why do we spend so much time worrying? Isn't it kind of like a huge ass waste of time? But it's just so easy, right? It becomes natural. And if you can train yourself to be in a state of worry, because like I said before, you were not born this way. You learned how to worry. You learned it. Babies don't worry. They don't. They don't know past. They don't know future. They know the present. Oh, I need food. Cry, get the food. I'm in the present. That's all they know. They don't know racism, sexism, all the isms. They don't know any of that. They're taught it. And anybody who's living from those places, could you imagine how much fear is consuming them? So then you live in this state long enough and it becomes natural for you. You're just always living in a state of fear and making decisions from a fearful place. But I promise you, as someone that used to make decisions from fear and lack, moving over to the other side is it's just as easy or just as hard to do, except for it feels better. I used to spend so many of my waking hours worrying. Like I would often feel like sometimes like sick to my stomach thinking about future things. Like I would make up all these stories in my head. Like even if it was a conversation that hadn't even happened yet, I would make up stories. I would make them up. They hadn't even happened yet. And I would get myself in this state of like, or I would think about the past and I would relive it and it would get me just as like all worked up in a negative way. Like I could do something about it. Have you ever done that? Where you like just even thinking about something that pissed you off, you're like heart's racing, you're sweating, and you're like ready to, I'm going to tell them. And it's just like, for what? Right? But it was a habit that I had. One that I had gotten very comfortable with. I had to make a decision to swap it out for faith. It wasn't easy. It wasn't hard. It was just a decision. I was tired of living with that feeling in the pit of my stomach, waiting for something bad to happen. I just had to focus and repeat to myself. Like I'm talking, guys, a lot of repetition. A lot. But you get to choose it. And what happened is I noticed that the worry started letting go. And when I'm letting go, right, if I'm hanging on to something, I can't grab onto anything else because I'm hanging on to it, right? So if I've got my water in my hand and I'm hanging on to it, you go to hand me something, I can't grab onto it because my hands are full. So when I let go of worry, it's like putting my water down so that I can then carry the faith. I can carry it. There's room. I don't even have like a verb for faith. Like faithing. Are you faithing? It's not a thing, but it should be. What I'm saying to you today is have faith. Come here. Come here. We have surfers in our backyard. Oh, come here. He's got surfers. I know. It's okay. You have to have faith. Faith in your dreams, faith in yourself, faith in the direction that you want to go, faith in your future, faith in love. Knowing that God, source, energy, universe, infinite intelligence, whatever your belief is, it has your back. Everything in this universe, which is infinite, is conspiring for your happiness. All you have to do is take a chance. Either way, you're risking something, agreed? Like you're either risking staying the same and not living out that dream, or you're going to step out. But I want you to understand, like the way you were born, your spiritual DNA, it's perfect. Okay, so go step into faith and create the masterpiece. Like the world is waiting for you. You're like, I don't know. Maybe it's waiting for Delenn, but it's not waiting for me. I promise you, it's waiting for you. You are going to rocket things that I couldn't even wrap my head around. And I'm going to rocket things that you haven't wrapped your head around. And that's okay. That's our uniqueness seeking expression. I have faith in that. And you know what? It totally gets you out of competition mode. Like I have no competition. None. Do you know how many mindset coaches there are out there? A lot. But I just know, I know. I'm like, nobody does it like me. And they're not meant to. And I don't do it like them. And I'm not meant to. Okay, when you harness the technique, you will realize that you really get to create this. You get to create the life of your dreams, of abundance, and really do what you love. There's like only 2% of people that earn more than 95% of all the money that's ever been earned. Why is that? It's not because they hit the lottery. It's not because they got lucky. Even a very small fraction of these people inherited it. Like I was recently asked, I was talking to our 2% club about MSI, multiple streams of income. And I got asked how many MSIs I had and what they were. And I can say, I have way more. So like, because money comes through things. Right? But it's just like, I have like 15 streams of income. Like money comes through things 15 different ways. And I could have never predicted that. But think of this, you guys, right? Like, I have royalties from books that I've written. I have like affiliate marketing, there's like coaching and my like all my businesses, right? Like there's lots of different things. But you have to believe that you can do that first. I would love for you to just grab a hold of and say, I am not settling in any area of my life right now. None. I'm done. I'm done. I want to grab a hold of something every single time and I want to do it. And I want to do it in my way. And I'm going to have faith that it's all going to work out for me. And when you do, you're going to get some wins. You're going to get some wins. It's awesome. But you have to step out of that box first that you've put yourself in. All the wins are outside of the box. Okay? They're not there like seeping in the box. And initially, yeah, you can say, okay, this is what it's going to look like in a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, whatever. Okay? You're just guessing. But as long as you're shooting for something, shoot for something, anything. And some of the things, I promise you, for me, like things that I thought like I had on my list for like 5 years from now, some of them I'm like on track, it's going to be 5 years. Some it's like it's already happened. And it happened in ways that I couldn't have guessed that that's how it's going to happen. That's what I want you to play around with. Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Decide what you want, come up with a plan, but it has to be like a loose plan because the universe is going to give you exactly what you want in the most convenient way possible. And sometimes you're like, oh, really? That was the most convenient way possible? Yep. Because some of the lessons, they're disguised as tragedy. So this is why I always say don't waste your pain because those are the biggest lessons. Always. Always. That was like my whole message throughout the pandemic. I'm like, guys, don't waste this. Don't waste this moment. Do you know how much we're learning right now about ourselves, about what we're capable of? Oh my gosh. Game changer. And we got to do it globally. It's pretty amazing. You were made for this. You were made for this moment right here, right now. How are you living it? Because either way, you're trading it for something. Everything outside of your human experience is finite. We're only here for 100 years or so. Depends how you treat your vessel. But you're capable of just totally crushing this. Absolutely. But you get to decide. So I want you to take back your control. I want you to go get it. Deal? Awesome. Have a good day, you guys. Bye-bye. Go get it. Have some faith.